So, a very good afternoon. Welcome to Job Grade IAS, and this is session 19 of Mains Enrichment Program. On the daily basis, I am coming up with previous year questions of UPSC Civil Services Mains, History, Art and Culture. We have finished the Modern Indian History. We are doing the session 4 of Art and Culture, and later on we will go on World History and Post-Indian Independence. And this is question 4 in our Art and Culture series, previous year questions of Civil Services Mains Examination. Now, today is 8th of July and you are remaining nearly 40 days, remaining with 40 days for the mains examination. So, what can be strategy? What is the strategy that can be used for the mains examination at this point of time? Revise, revise and revise, right? And how will you revise effectively? How will you revise effectively? You will have to clear your concepts again, right? And polish your answer writing skills as much as you can, but don't just overtrain. Don't burden yourself with 3 or 4 mock test series. Don't burden yourself with a lot of books. Just practice the answer writing. And what is the best way to practice? Analyze the copy of toppers as well as practice the previous year questions, right? They are the guides, they are the dots that will connect you to the actual examination of the mains examination, right? So, always practice in a simulated manner, always practice in a simulated manner, always practice in a simulated manner, right? And have a, be aware about the time limit, be aware about the time limit. So, I was a bit distracted due to, sorry for that. So, now you are remaining with almost 40 days for your mains examination. Focus on your essay, focus on your ethics paper, so which is GS paper 4, as well as master your optionals. Optional is a key. However, you will have to be equally best in each and every subject, but general principle is essay, ethics and optional. Oh, GS paper 4 is ethics, essay, GS paper 1 prior to GS paper 1, right? And optional paper. There are 2 optional papers. I don't know about your optional papers, but you will have to command over the optionals, such as you are a student, top class student of master's level. Let us suppose you have taken a very different subject, that is geology. Let us, your optional is geology. Your preparation should be in such a manner that it should reflect in your copy that an answer of geology is written by a student who has been a researcher of geology, right? And how will you reflect this kind of scenario? You will have to have a right guidance. You will have to have a right guidance. You will have to follow the right sources about geology. I am mentioning the geology because this is the subject of research. This is a subject which is not much researched in India. This is the subject of which is chosen by a few people in this country. Okay. Now, question for the day is evaluate the nature of the Bhakti movement in its contribution to Indian culture. This question was asked in Civil Services Mains 2021 and it was a very good question. It was not very easy question. You will have to evaluate. What I mentioned about the word evaluate, that you will have to give an estimation, right? Let us suppose I am evaluating your copies. So, what will I do? I will give the positives as well as I will give the negatives, that these points that you have mentioned are good and these points that you have mentioned are a matter of concern. You need an improvement, right? So, we will have to evaluate. First of all, mark my word, we will have to evaluate, which means what we are doing, we are estimating the answer. We are estimating the answer. And the nature of the Bhakti movement, not the Bhakti movement, what kind of nature Bhakti movement had, which means how it was different from the previous religious movements, such as the ancient Indian society that we have seen in Vedic culture, such as the religion of Indus Valley culture, such as the kind of orthodox religions, right? How it was different from Jainism and Buddhism, and how it, evolved during the medieval period. So whenever you talk about the keyword bhakti, so bhakti is not a word that was evolved in the medieval era. Yes, bhakti movement, the doctrine of bhakti, the doctrine of bhakti movement, the doctrine of bhakti movement doctrine of bhakti movement, right? So it emerged in from 7th century AD to 10th century AD, but you will have to focus this word bhakti. This word bhakti was in practice much centuries before the emergence of the bhakti doctrine. The bhakti doctrine, right? Before this, what we had? What we had? We had the 4 Vedas. We had the 6 Upanishads. We had Brahman literatures. We had Brahman literatures. We had Brahmin literatures. We had Aranyaks. We compiled Purans. We compiled Purans in Gupta era. And what all these things are preaching? Let us take example of Upanishads. They were the philosophical texts. They were dealing with the metaphysics. They were dealing with the astronomy. They were dealing with a lot of philosophies of life. The reason behind life and death, life after that. They are dealing with the single entity, the one universal God, right? And why they are dealing? Because it had to be worshipped. It had to be worshipped. So the term bhakti was familiar to the ancient Indian people also, right? It was revolutionized, and the doctrine came in 7th century to 10th century AD. You will have to be very, very clear about this point, right? You know about Aranyaks, you know about Puranas. There were 18 Puranas. They were compiled during the Gupta era. So now, what we will write in introduction, the Bhakti literature can be traced back to both Brahmanical and Buddhist traditions. The Buddhist traditions, they emerged during the Mahajanpad era, right? And before that, Vedic era just finished. And in later Vedic period, there was a dominance of Brahmanical society. There was a dominance of Brahmanical society because of the emergence of a lot of yajnas. Ashwamedh, Rajsuya, Vajpayee, and Brahmins and Purohits earned a lot of money, a lot of prosperity from their Kshatriya patrons. So now the Bhakti literature can be traced back to both Brahmanical and Buddhist traditions. I have explained it, as well as to the ancient literature like Vedas, Upanishads and Gita, as I mentioned. It present in India long before the growth of arrival of Sufism in India. However, it was for the very first time in South India between 7th century to 10th century that Bhakti emerged from a religious doctrine into a popular movement based on equality. Why this word equality I have mentioned in this answer? Because the deterioration of Brahmanical society occurred in later Vedic phase. The Varna system became more rigid in later Vedic phase. Your Varna was based on your birth, unlike it was based on your work in the early Vedic period, right? So due to a lot of social deterioration, the Bhakti movement emerged as a religious doctrine, and that transformed into a movement based on equality. What Bhakti movement is saying? It is talking about a Bhakt, a worshipper, a follower, a lover of God. Anything is acceptable to God. Only with one condition, love and devotion. So Bhakti movement is talking about only two things, love and devotion. Love and devotion. It is not merely chanting the mantras of Vedas. It is not merely to be being a very, highly intellectually sound philosopher. It's not all about to be, a great knowledge holder of Puranas. It's not all about to be a well versed in Aranyaks. Right? It talks about the love and devotion, how much you love your deity, how much you are devoted to your God, right? So what was the nature? What was the nature? So emphasis on local and regional languages. Unlike the Vedic culture which prevailed in Sanskrit language, and that was a tough language. Rig Ved had a lot of mantras. Yajurved had the same mantras, but they all were procedural. Samveda dealt with the phonetics. Atharvaveda was dealing with medicines. All the mantras were mentioned in Sanskrit language. Now, what Bhakti saints are doing, they are preaching in vernacular language, which are the local language. Let us suppose in South India, there were two kind of saints, two sect of saints, Alvars and Nainars. Alvars were the followers of Lord Vishnu, Nainars were the followers of Lord Shiva. But both of these saints, both the section of these saints are preaching the general public in the vernacular language. That was the Tamil language. Right? And during 16th century, there was a famous worshipper of Lord Ram, Tulsidas. He wrote Ramcharitmanas. He preached people Ramcharitmanas in Avdi language. That was a vernacular language. And he was opposed by the orthodox Brahmins who were advocating for the Sanskrit. Right? So the message of Bhakti movement was very, very clear. It is not merely chanting the mantras. Right? By chanting certain mantras, you will get your client. If you are a Brahmin, you will get your client. If you are a very good Ved party Brahmin who used to chant mantras on the ghats of Ganga at Banaras, you will get your client. But you will not get the God. You will not reach to the God. There is only one way to reach the God is love and devotion. The Bhakti movement emphasizing on the power of love. Without love, the achievement of God is not possible. What Tulsidas is mentioning about in Ramcharitmanas, right? The entire story of Lord Ram, and especially the relation between Hanumanji and Lord Ram, the devotion of Hanumanji, the love of Hanumanji towards his master Lord Ram, right? So he is also emphasizing on love and devotion, right? There was another saint, his name was Surdas, and he wrote his preachings, he wrote his works in Brij Bhasha, in Brij language, that is a local language of Mathura and Bharatpur, right? So he is also emphasizing in that vernacular language that love and devotion is the only way to attain the salvation or the interaction with God, the supreme deity, right? The supreme personality. So now Bhakti saints wrote and preached in vernacular languages. For example, Alvars and Nainars used local Tamil language instead of Sanskrit. Surdas preferred Brij Bhasha. Due to this factor, they got acceptance by the people very easily, because language, knowledge has no language. There is no language of knowledge, right? And if you are very orthodox about your language, let us suppose I am teaching in English. And at 6 p.m., at 5 or 6 p.m., I will be live in a bilingual language. If I become very adamant that I will teach in English only, how will I benefit the bilingual student? How will I benefit the Hindi medium students? Right? It will be an injustice. Matter of injustice. So what I am trying to convey you is because of use of vernacular language, they got acceptance by the masses. They got acceptance by the masses, because all the masses that time were not able to understand the critical Sanskrit language. And how they will understand? You have seen Vedic culture from 1500 BCE to 600 BC. Then you will see Mahajanpads, the emergence of Pali and Brahmi script, Pali language, Brahmi script. Then you have seen the propagation of these languages in Mauryan Empire, right? Then in Gupta Empire, language changed. They again emphasized on Sanskrit. Then after Harshvardhan, then the invaders, the Islamic invaders, they came up with their own language, the Turkish language, the Arabic language, right? So language, evolved in this country like a sine wave, right? Sometimes you are listening Sanskrit, sometimes you are listening Avdi, sometimes you are listening Pali language, sometimes you are listening English of Britishers, sometimes you are listening Arabic, Turkish, right? So now the masses of medieval era have evolved through a lot of languages, and their local language were the vernacular languages. People who are living in South India were able to understand the Tamil and Telugu. People who are living in the Uttar Pradesh, they were able to understand the language of Awadh, which is known as Avadhi. People who are living in Bihar, they had the different script, Mathili script, right? So these saints accepted by the masses. Even in Rajasthan, there are many languages, and there were many saints during the Bhakti era, and they were also accepted by the people of Rajasthan because they narrated their devotion towards their deities in their local languages, right? Reduced evils in the society. Bhakti literature began composed in 6th century AD in South India by Tamil poet saints. Many social abnormalities in the society, for example, caste rigidity, irrelevant rituals and religious practices, blind faith and social dogmas. One thing that you need to be very, very clear about this point, that you have given a very, very strong introduction of this topic, that Bhakti movement was emphasizing on the concept of equality. It completely denied the concept of varnas, the discrimination of caste, the sati system, and many social evils that were existing in the contemporary times, right? So what they are emphasizing on? Many social abnormalities existed in the society. For example, caste rigidity. Upper class is not even, looking at the lower caste, right? Lower caste is living in a separate area, which is very remote and very dirty, right? Irrelevant rituals such as dowry, right? Such as sati system, such as female infanticide, and religious practices, blind faiths and social dogmas. The Bhakti literature preached against all such evils, Let me give you an example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established the Gaudiya Sampradaya, and he was born in Bengal. Now he traveled around the world and around the country, and he gave a very, very basic concept that everything is acceptable to God, but you will have to learn how to love God. You will have to make a relationship with the God. And how will you make the relationship? By chanting his holy name. So chanting was the mantra which was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is now the backbone concept of ISKCON. If you are chanting the mantra, the Maha Mantras, which means you are showing your love towards the God, and automatically this love will increase. So now they are not talking about that you are from certain caste and you are not able to chant this mantra. No, you can chant the holy name of God at any condition, at any time, irrespective of your caste, creed, gotra and your place of birth. Clear? So now they are not denying the concept of caste, but they are denying that discrimination of chanting the holy name of God on the basis of caste is not acceptable. Everything is equal. in front of God. The caste, the varna, all these concepts are created by human, not by God. Clear? So they are talking about the equality, which means they are talking about an egalitarian society, So their approach was egalitarian. So egalitarian approach, they disregarded caste and gender, carried their message of love and personal devotion to God to various parts of India, For example, I have given you the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? The Bhakti literature is devotional and religious. For example, Kirtans, you know very well Kirtans, Dohe, Pad, you know very well Pad, Ghosh, and Thirumurais. What are Thirumurais? Thirumurais are, they are the volume of books. There are 12 volumes which is written by written in Tamil language, right? And they are dedicated to Lord Shiva. They are dedicated to Lord Shiva. They are dedicated to Lord Shiva. Now, they had a very simple approach to the religion. Unlike Vedas, unlike Upanishads, they had very different, definition of religion. Dharma. Dharma means duty. What Krishna is saying to Arjuna before the battle of Mahabharata. Don't think, just, do your duty. Apna dharma nibhao. Right? So, dharma means duty. And now, Bhakti movement have a very different perception about the religion. By the way, they always emphasize that the meaning of dharma is duty. But their perception was very, very different. So now, the philosophy of Vedas and Upanishads, was very, very sophisticated. Let me give you an example. In Yajurveda, there are many mantras who are dealing with the procedural matters, that how to perform a particular yajna. Let us suppose you are going to perform Ashwamedha. So there are many rituals that you will have to follow, right? There are many mantras, many types of pujas that in which you will have to follow a code of conduct. You will have to follow certain principles, certain, way of life, right? So this is not possible for all people. Now, what Bhakti movement is saying, that be very simple, right? The only condition to attain the salvation is the devotion only. It is establishing the relation of love between a worshipper and the deity who is going to be worshipped, right? So the philosophy of Vedas and Upanishads literature was very difficult for ordinary people to understand. As I mentioned, people were looking for a simple form of worship, religious activities and social norms. Let us suppose Navratris are going and some people are ardently following the fasting. Some people are fasting only on water. They are sleeping on the floor. They are not shaving. Yes, it is their belief. System. They can do it, but it is not possible for each and every individual to survive on just water for 9 to 10 days. Right? So what Bhakti movement is saying, just be devoted. Show your devotion. Do not show the procedure. Right? Do not show the procedure. What I told you. If you chant the mantras on the Ghat of Banaras, you will get the clients, but you will not have the interaction of God. Right? Devotion is very much required. So people who were looking for simple form of worship, religious activities and social norms. Bhakti literature was an alternative, a basic form of devotion that provided salvation from material life. Salvation from material life. You know, a lot of ISKCON sadhus, they are, you know, some of them uh, performing, or they are practicing the celibacy, right? They are practicing the celibacy, which means they have renounced the material life, because at the end of the day, your material life will not go with you. Only your dharma will go with you. Only your dharma will go with you. And that is the emphasis of Bhakti movement. What it is saying, that material life is not the focus of Bhakti movement. Right? It is not the mandate of Bhakti movement. The only target, only and only aim of a bhakt is to attain his deity, right? The best example is Ramayan. What Ramayan is teaching us, Lord Ram went to exile. Now he is in a forest area. He has no support of his army, which is based in Ayodhya. His brother is with him. His wife is with him. Now his brother Lakshmanji, he take a vow that I will not sleep, especially when my brother and my sister-in-law are sleeping. They should sleep peacefully. I don't care about weather. I don't care about the thorny shrubs. I don't care about the hardness of the forest area. I don't care about the evil entities that are always around us. I will always protect them. I will always serve them. So that kind of devotion which is required in a bhakta. So what Lakshman signifies in Ramayana, he is a symbol of duty, right? He is a symbol of duty. He is a symbol of deontology. Deontology you study in ethics, GS paper 4. He is a symbol of devotion, and as well as he is a symbol of love. So now he is completely devoid of material life. By the way, he was not Lakshmanji and Sitaji was not sent into an exile. Only Lord Ram was sent to the exile. They were the companions. They both were the companions. Secular, non-sectarian, and tolerant. So the Bhakti movement was started by the Hindu saints. But as they were, approaching towards an egalitarian society, they were opposing all kind of social evils. So they were very, very secular in nature. If a Muslim is chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, it was not a matter of concern for Bhakti saints. Best example is Ras Khan, who wrote a lot of dohas on Lord Krishna. He was a Muslim, and he was not opposed even by a single Bhakti saint. He was neither opposed by Tulsidas, nor he was opposed by Kabir Das, neither he was opposed by Goswami Tulsidas, right? That was the beauty of Bhakti movement that time. So now secular, non-sectarian, and tolerant, although the Bhakti literature propagated by Hindu saints, it was tolerant to other religions. Secularism is visible in it. It saw religion as a loving tie based on love between worshipped and the worshipper, rather than a cold formal worship. What is a cold formal worship? Let us suppose you are running towards your office. It is early in the morning, and you have your mentality in such a manner that you chant the name of God, because it is said to you that it is good. Now you are doing it as a duty of your not a duty, as a formality. It's a cold formality, right? You have no love with God. You have nothing to do with God. You are doing this as a formality because somebody has put certain obligations on you, that you will have to do this, you will have to do that, right? So there is no devotion, right? You are just doing the formality, and this concept is directly proportional to your UPSC preparation. Let us suppose you are studying, you are giving sitting of 5 to 6 hours or 8 hours, but you are not generating the output. You are scrolling your mobile phone and just doing the formality, opening a book, right? So nothing will happen, because you are not devoted to your goal. So devotion is much required. Whether you want to do in the field whether you want to do excel in the field of UPSC or in the field of bhakti, devotion is a common here. Next is, what is the contribution of bhakti literature to the Indian culture? First of all, mass spreading. Because of the vernacular language, it spread it among the masses rapidly. So bhakti literature spread easily among the masses and influenced local culture. Now it led to degorgement of immortal things such as infanticide, immoral things such as infanticide, sati system, as well as the prohibition of wine, tobacco, etc. As I mentioned you earlier. Solidarity. Another notable influence was the creation of solidarity between the Hindu and Muslim communities. So there was no enmity between the Hindu saints and the Sufi saints. All they were doing, they were trying to attain their respective deities. Right? They were trying to attain their respective deities, and they were giving the message of peace into the society. Next, maintaining relationship. The movement attempt to bridge the gap between the two by reducing growing bitterness between them. Well, the Bhakti movement started during the medieval era, and the medieval era is famous for the clashes of Hindu Rajas and Muslim kings. Right? Sometimes Alauddin Khilji is approaching Mewar, sometimes Akbar is approaching Mewar, they are attacking Mewar, and there is a Mughal Rajput clash is always happening. What Bhakti movement was saying, it somehow mitigated, it abridged the gap between the Hindu and the Muslim, because there were many saints, many Hindu saints patronized by Akbar, and Akbar was very influenced by them. Even he donated some land in Amritsar to Sikh Guru Ramdas, who himself was a great Sikh saint. Clear? So what is happening over here? They are abridging the gap, they are reducing the gap, right? So the Sufis, we have discussed the point. So religious ideas, the Bhakti literature promoted the diversity of religious ideas in religion, poetry, evolution. So what is the religious ideas? The Bhakti literature promoted the diversity of religious ideas in religion. What Bhakti literature is saying? Let us suppose Ramcharitmanas, the Bhakti literature. It was written by in an Avadhi language by Goswami Tulsidas, and it is differentiating, it is justifying different situation which is faced by Lord Ram, and he is saying that this should be the code of conduct, this should be a manner how to tackle the difficulties in life, as well as how to approach the other religion. What Lord Ram did when he killed Ravan, he did not conquer Lanka, he handed it over to Vibhishan. Right? So there are many stories that are narrated in our Bhakti literature, that is, elaborating the religion, the different aspect of the religion. The Bhakti literature promoted diversity of religious ideas in religion. Okay, poetry evolution. So let me give you one more example of Rajasthan. There are, let us discuss about the whole India. Let us discuss about Shaivism. In Shaivism, the supreme deity is Lord Shiva. He is the supreme personality. But Shaivism have different sects: Kapalik, Nagas, Aghoris, right? Naths such as Gorakhnath, Balaknath, right? So in one religion, in one sect of religion, there are a lot of subsects, but all were trying to attain the same deity. All were still trying to attain the same supreme personality, that is Lord Shiva. Yes, the way of Naga is way different the way of Nath. The way of Aghori is way different from the way of a Kapalik. Clear? So now poetry evolution. It played crucial role in the emergence of modern poetry in India. Poetry evolution means Tulsidas wrote a lot of poetry on Lord Ram. His book is very famous. I'm forgetting the name of the book. I think let me recall the name of the book. Vinay Chalisa. Vinay Chalisa. Right? Vinay Chalisa was written by Tulsidas ji. Right? So it was explaining the valor of Hanuman ji in the battle of Ramayana, in the battle of Lanka. Right? So poetry evolution, the poetry evolved and it gave rise to the modern poetries of such as Ravindranath Tagore. Let us suppose the poetries of Ramdhari Singh, the poetries of Shyam Narayan Pandey, right, who wrote a very beautiful poem on the horse Chetak of Maharana Pratap, right. Singing and dancing, you know very well. In ISKCON, you see the kirtan, singing and dancing, sing the holy name of God. They dance, right? It's a very good exercise also. It contributed a growth of dance and music. Bhakti literature was used for devotion, singing, and devotional dances like kirtans and tataryas. So, how will you conclude? We were evaluating the answer, and in this answer, we have not even mentioned a single negative point, but we will mention this point in the conclusion. Although the Bhakti literature did not depart from the orthodoxy, and it failed to create a political awakening, it made a wider appeal to the common people. The popularization of the Bhakti movement was aided by Bhakti literature. What we are trying to convey now. Bhakti literature did not depart from orthodoxy. It was not separated from the orthodoxy, and it failed to create a political awakening. It was confined to the general masses. No, none of sultan, none of any basha, none of any king or maharaja ardently followed the Bhakti movement. Yes, they patronized the saints, but they themselves, were trying to divide, were trying to, trying themselves away from these kind of movements. So a political awakening could not be achieved, and we are estimating the question. We will have to put these kind of points. Now, the kind of political awakening was not a concern of the saints, right? They were completely dived in the ocean of love with the God. The popularization of the Bhakti movement was aided by Bhakti literature. We have cleared this point. It made a critical departure from previous devotional writings, which were largely written in Sanskrit and concentrated on ceremonies and rituals. It also contributed to the growth of regional languages, because the use of Bhakti literature in vernacular languages were understood by the local masses, and it developed the mode of communication of those languages. So this was the question for the day. I hope you understood the question, the nature of the question. What we were doing, we were evaluating the question, we were estimating the question, that we will have to provide both positives and negatives, and this was a very beautiful question as well as a very good learning for you. And these kind of question can be asked in examination again, because Bhakti and Sufi movement are very important. The question can be asked in prelims examination as well as in your mains examination. Last time this question was asked in UPSC Civil Services Mains 2021. So you can presume that this can be asked in this year also, right? So have a nice day. Revise the sessions, focus on your answer writing, and if you are not writing the mains 2025, you can join the Ignite Foundation batch of 2026. You can download the Job Grade IS app. You can subscribe the YouTube channel. You can follow the Telegram channel and get many benefits. So have a good day. Thank you.